Welcome to Pharmacy View, Technology and Pharmacy Business podcast series, where we provide regular interviews with pharmacists and key industry people within the Australian pharmacy and associated industry. In each podcast, we look to discuss aspects of pharmacy operation and how technology is improving or interacting with each guest's current role or pharmacy-related business. I'm your host, Scott Carpenter, and today's guest is sponsored by Shopfront Solutions, leading the way in digital marketing and communications, providing a cloud-based platform for pharmacies to manage all of their digital messaging and print-based collateral. For more information on the Shopfront Solutions digital platform, simply go to the website at shopfrontsolutions.com.au. I'm talking today with Daniel Riley from Suntax, located in Victoria. Welcome, Daniel.
Hi, Scott. Great to be here.
Likewise, having you on board, Daniel. So you and I, guess, have interacted over a few years now, and initially from our interactions through the Pharmacy Alliance group, where we've both done some work. But for anyone who doesn't know who you are, I guess first question up is, who is Daniel Riley?
Well, Daniel Riley is an accountant. So I've been an accountant for 21 years. So I started or graduated in the year 2000. I've been working primarily in the public practice sector and specifically dealing with small to medium businesses over that time. In saying that, accounting is a really, really interesting profession, and it takes you to a lot of different places. So I actually spent a couple of years working over in London in the early parts of my career, which is a great ground. Yeah, it was a really sort of interesting grounding to see how a different sort of tax system works. So I was over there as most Australians in their early 20s with the visa situation, with being part of the Commonwealth. So that was a great time. And once I came back from the UK, I started working for Suntax. I'd known John, who's the founder of Suntax, for many years, and started working back in 2004. And since then the business has grown substantially. I bought in as an owner around about the beginning of 2011, and today we're a 3-partner firm with about 32 staff across our 2 offices that we've got here in Melbourne. And we've really looked to expand our services while at the same time staying, I suppose, close to our core, which is tax compliance. But we have added into that mix over the last 10 years: bookkeeping, wealth management, business and personal insurances, mortgage broking, and most recently legal.
Excellent. So I guess that leads nicely then into who is Suntax, and potentially part of the name gives it away. But I was looking at your website in the last couple of days, doing a bit of research prior to this session today. Mm-hmm. And one of the things that I think that jumped out at me was that one of your core values is around being a business coach with your clients as opposed to just being an accountant. So I think that's a nice lead in. You've mentioned all of the things that you do, but I guess in terms of the Australian pharmacy industry and the technology that you employ, who is Suntax to the Australian pharmacy industry, and what kind of breadth of clients have you got at the moment?
Yeah, so I suppose at Suntax, we're really passionate about small to medium-sized business. We don't really just sit back and do the traditional accounting sort of role of just keeping the score. We're there to sort of work with our business owners to help them improve their business. Now that may be through compliance and tax structuring, but equally through the use of technology in the last 5 years, we've seen a huge amount of, I suppose, ingenuity and innovation through cloud computing. So we've really embraced that, and we've been using that with our pharmacy clients through the use of Xero. We're a really big user of the Xero platform for accounting, and that is for us is the gold standard in the accounting space, and it really does knock down the old traditional, I suppose, constraints of having to work with an accountant or a bookkeeper who is local to you, being in the same suburb. Because with cloud computing, we've got pharmacies and other clients dotted all around every state in the country. So it doesn't matter that we're located here in Melbourne. We can still work on a pharmacy over in Bundaberg, Western Australia, or up in Cairns, or down in Hobart and Tassie. So cloud computing's been huge for that, and it's an interesting journey.
Yeah. So on that basis, and the fact that you've kind of spread nationally, how did the clients interstate find you? And again, was there some kind of technological advantage that you've got from that, or is it just word of mouth?
It started off as us just providing a solution to a problem. So we had a a client who was struggling with, I suppose, delivery of service and timeliness because they needed to be, they were, their businesses were located on the other side of the country, and it just took a long time for data to arrive and then get worked on, and then management reports were 6 to 8 weeks lag time, and when you're trying to run a business, it's very, very hard to be making valuable decisions when you've got data which is 6 to 8 weeks old. So providing a solution and embracing cloud technology was about saying, well, we can deliver monthly reports 2 weeks after the end of a month, so you've got a lot more timely information and you can make better business decisions. So
Yeah, and I think on that note, you've had enough interaction in the pharmacy now, know that it is a highly technologically, I guess, based industry. Anything from e-scripts these days through to PBS claims, and everything is almost happening instantly or within a much shorter time frame. So really, from an accounting point of view, you've had to almost meet that demand, haven't you?
Oh, absolutely. Everyone, all business owners these days, want to operate in real time as close to as possible. So, having a delay of weeks or months is not really acceptable in this environment these days, and it makes it really difficult in running a business. So, yeah, the use of, like I said before, Xero. Everyone's using internet banking these days to great effect. We use Receipt Bank, we've recently changed their name to Dext, but so
Yes,
we use Dext.
yep.
We use Dext as a way to capture invoices that our businesses are needing to pay, and that's a way of getting the data across to us, because we pay all the bills, we do all the reconciliations. So we're really like a full back office solution rather than just doing it the compliance. I suppose for us, if economies of scale there or efficiencies are generated because we're both accountants and bookkeepers. We can, if my bookkeepers have any queries, they just go and have a chat with the accountant on the job, and
Yep.
so we get a really good outcome.
Yeah, and I noticed. Look, I'm a Xero user as well for my business, and I guess one of the things that I like about it, having a background in some financial management and training, the fact that I can go in at any point in time and basically get a live update as to my business status, and that's really what this is about, isn't it? It's that more instant response time, short of there being an invoice missing or short of there being some income not reconciled.
Yeah, 100% there, Scott. And a lot of the time, because the data feed is coming through daily, it has a bit of a game-like characteristic that people want to keep things up to date. They don't like seeing things unreconciled. So it really works. Then the more accurate and less transactions that are outstanding, it means that the data you've got there is quite robust, and you can make some really good decisions from.
Yeah, I chuckled there a little bit because you're right about it drives you to kind of keep everything up to date. And I did sit there most of the Easter weekend waiting for a whole lot of transactions to come through, and I noticed they've all come through yesterday or today kind of thing. So there's still this
Exactly.
kind of public holiday and weekend lag and demand from the financial institutions, isn't there?
Yeah, 100%. I know exactly what you mean, because I was having a look at our file ourselves, and I was thinking, hold on, it's been 4 days since the 1st of April, and
Yeah.
nothing's come through yet. But yeah, so like for us, it also helps, I suppose, with our business owners. We can produce standardized reports and deliver those back with some good context about how the business has gone against their own budgets that they've set themselves, and also from a, I suppose, a benchmarking perspective around against peers.
Yeah, and it's good. And look, I was, that's a nice lead in, because it was the next thing I wanted to discuss with you is that access to benchmarking information. And obviously, you respect the confidentiality and privacy of each of your clients, but you can effectively, as much as you might set a budget with a client, you can actually give them some benchmarking qualification as well that would either substantiate their budget or at least give them an idea of areas that they can be improved on.
Yeah, spot on. So as far as we do benchmarking with all of our clients, it doesn't matter if they're in the pharmacy game or if they're a cafe, but the benchmarking that we utilize is publicly available from the tax department. So
Yep.
for us, we like to benchmark our clients against basically what the ATO have got there, and they're drawing the data from the tens of thousands of small businesses around the country. And it also gives some good context if there are a few outliers. And we just want to make sure the clients are always making sure we're not exposing them, or they're not exposing themselves to any potential ATO activity. And so it does bring up some discussion from time to time. And that thing should have been in there, but that was misclassified or
Yep.
whatnot. So yeah, so we generally use benchmarks and put that in cover letters that we send out to our clients at the end of the year, and then also with our monthly reporting that we do
as well from that perspective. Yeah.
Hmm.
So, in terms of your remote clients, obviously, it's like now we could be talking on an internet phone, or we could be doing some kind of video link. What kind of technology does Suntax employ there?
Yeah, so we, being in accounting, it feels like we're like a tech company more than an accountant's office these days. So,
Yeah.
like we love technology and really, really embrace it. So, during the latest lockdown that we had down in Victoria, that was July through to September. So that's our busiest time of the year, Scott. And we needed to be able to get in contact with our clients and stay in contact. So we Google Meets as a form of video conferencing where we can share our screen. You can see what's happening when we're doing the tax return or talking about your tax planning. Now, obviously, we've got our telephone system is VoIP, so that's all available that we can transfer calls. It doesn't matter where you're sitting. Like I could be sitting down in Rosebud, and you could call the office phone here, and admin can patch it through to me. Not a problem at all. So we do that, and also electronic signing. That's been a really big thing in the last few years as well, which has come forward a long way. So we use DocuSign to get documents out to our clients. They sign them electronically and get them back, and it's valid. The ATO are happy to take that as proof of signature. They don't need wet signatures.
Yep.
And I think the banks actually just announced the other day that they're going to start going down that path too, which is good. And having electronic signatures for all the tax returns and BAS returns that we've been doing during lockdown was an absolute godsend. That's for sure.
Yeah, and I guess that there's obviously been some disaster stories over the length of time that Victoria was in lockdown, but not discounting those. On the other side of things, from a national, Australian national, and potentially international as well, that period has really driven significant technology change in the way businesses report and communicate, hasn't it?
It certainly has. And I think it's really made people embrace technology and use of so much more. And in a space of 3 months, I think we all sort of leapt forward probably 3 to 5 years as far as adoption is concerned, because we had no other option. And something that we've always been striving for is continual improvement and efficiencies. And so with the use of cloud technology, we try to automate absolutely everything we possibly can, and that's led to huge amounts of efficiency gains. And it's one of those things we'll be looking for the next gain out there, Scott.
Yeah, and again, it's a nice lead in, because my next question was going to be, so I'm aware that you're a platinum Xero account, or I may have that quite wrong, but the reality is you would therefore be aware of new things that are coming up. So is there anything in terms of Xero that clients could look forward to in the near future that you can share with us?
Well, yeah, so we are a platinum sort of level user of Xero. So basically what that lets us, I suppose, into, we are privy to a few of the beta testing products that they have with Xero, and they're always working on stuff because they're a very innovative program. That they recently just purchased a couple of companies. So there's a few businesses which they've purchased, and a bit like a company, HubDoc, which they purchased about 3 years ago. That's pretty much a direct competitor to Dext, and but HubDoc is something that we're starting to use a lot more now, and that's actually has been wrapped up and included within a standard Xero subscription now. So we're using that a lot more. And then, with these two latest additions, we'll be investigating and seeing how they'll be folded into the Xero world. They're mainly to do with payroll. And we'll sort of like just see what happens in that space.
Yeah, because again, that was going to be my next question. So I know from previous experience there was predominantly one, potentially two payroll systems that you were using. What are they today, and what do they look like?
Yeah, so we use Tanda quite a lot with the majority of our pharmacy businesses. There's also WageLock is another one which we've used over the years, but specifically Tanda these days is the one we use predominantly. A lot of the time, like we don't sort of dictate we sort of do to a point dictate that we want people to be using Xero. But as far as the payroll add-on packages, it's pretty much what works best for the business. A bit like an FPOS of integration. It's what works best for the business. So I'd say these days it's mainly Tanda.
Okay. And I guess from that perspective, and again, keeping confidentiality of clients a must, is there been any examples or learnings or incidents that you can share with the listeners today of things that might be happening or that they could look into in their own area?
I think the past year of COVID has really thrown quite a few question marks up for people that are running their business. And it's been a real mixed bag, to be honest. I've had some businesses that have done exceptionally well during COVID just because of the industry that they're in. And then I've had others that are in tourism and the service-based industries, which have been absolutely smashed. So I think the main message is when you're looking at the financial health of your business, you really need to keep a close eye, and we always say it on your expenses, but I suppose the strength of your balance sheet, making sure that you're not too exposed with a leverage perspective, and just really making sure you've got cash put away to ward off those dark days if and when they do come. So that's been a big focus that we've had with our clients, and also to making sure they've got efficiencies in their collection of debts. It's hard enough to sell your wares, but if you're not collecting your sales, very, very difficult, because of course you need to be paying all your staff and rent and overheads. So you need to make sure there's a good cash flow. So I suppose mainly strength of balance sheet, keep an eye on that, and at the same time just make sure you've set yourself some budget so you can plan for your cash flow.
That's right. Yeah, and look, I've got a son who's in the building industry, and I probably have a weekly conversation with him about where his cash flow is at, particularly when you're talking about big chunks of money coming in and big invoices coming in to match it. So I guess in terms of the pharmacy industry, it's a little bit more stable in terms of that you've got the electronic PBS claim, which is potentially the bulk of your income coming in. And then you've got your customer receipts. And then on the reciprocal side of things, the bulk of product is purchased through a wholesaler, which again is predominantly one invoice, but it's all coming in staggered through the month, isn't it, in that case, as opposed to a 30-day invoice. So is there anything that pharmacies can watch in that area from your perspective?
Yeah, I suppose the main message there is there's no one thing, but when you're talking in cash flow, a big cash flow claim is obviously making sure you get your BAS in, because there's GST refunds. So you can't do that if there's delays in getting your accounts in order and
receipts up and
finalised. So I suppose that was a solution that we put out there to a problem that was posed to us quite a few years ago. If we can wrap up in the month accounts and get it done around the 15th or 16th of the month, that means we can get the BAS returns in there and lodged. That means that there's refunds coming back from the ATO in a short space of time, which definitely helps with cash flow. But whereas if that's not happening and it's taking 6 to 8 weeks, okay, the money will be there, but you're having to wait 6 to 8 weeks longer than what you really should
to get it. So from a time frame, if I've heard what you've just said correctly, effectively get your BAS statement in by the 15th, which would potentially then mean that you'd get your money back or your credit back before the end of the month, which means that you're in a better position then to pay your invoices at the end of the month. Yeah,
exactly. Like the ATO, they're very efficient with transacting. So, and again, use of the Xero program, we can get that BAS in there and lodged. It gets all vetted beforehand with pre-lodgement, so we know if there's any errors, so it doesn't hold up the process. We can get it in there, and the ATO turn it around very quickly, because the ATO, they're aware that cash flow is the lifeblood of all small business, so that they're not in the business of holding on to people's GST money any longer than what they need to.
As opposed to the financial institutions, which will pay it when they're ready to pay it.
You're not wrong there.
Yeah, it's still kind of I puzzle on that one most weekends and I'm sure most people do in the fact that if I purchase something on my electronic card, I can basically go into my account a minute later and the cash is gone. But when it and it doesn't matter whether it's weekday or weekend, it just happens. But in terms of today's age of technology, I think I know the reason why, but it still seems strange that cash coming into a business actually takes several days when it can kind of be taken out immediately. So
well, like you said, I think you know the
answer. I guess they've got to make their shareholder money somewhere, haven't they?
Yeah, correct.
Daniel, it's been great to chat today. Is there anything else going on in, I guess, your world or arena that you can share with listeners today?
Oh, look, I suppose at the moment we're in that funny period just before we've got a budget to be released probably in the next 6 weeks. So once middle of May rolls around, we've got the new budget. Then we'll be talking about the new tax season, which we'll be honest before we know it. But I suppose the main thing that we're talking about our clients with at the moment is starting those conversations around tax planning for the end of year. What can you do to make sure you're in a good position. You're not going to have to pay any more tax than what you need to, and that might be about talking about, buying equipment for the business, because we've got this, very large depreciation threshold at the moment. And so that's going to be changing in the near term. But up until 30 June, if we can have any capital expenditure and it's needed and warranted in the business, it might be a very good opportune time to do.
Yeah.
And then also too, just looking at people's superannuation, and if they can build up their superannuation and claim a tax deduction, that's another important thing. No, tax planning is the main conversation we have at this period of the year now, basically from April onwards.
And so the message there would be is, if there's any pharmacists or business owners listening today, if you haven't got a pre-booked appointment with your accountant, it's probably a good time to see if you can get one before the end of this financial year.
Absolutely. It's a real must, because once the 30th of June goes, there's slim pickings as far as what sort of tax planning that you can do, because everything's based on real dates and real time. So after the fact, it's very, very difficult to do anything. And absolutely. Like, I know my PA, she's on the phones out calling my clients to set up meetings over the next 6 to 8 weeks, just to have those conversations. And the beauty is, again, I'll log into the client's Xero file, and I'll see where they're tracking for the 10 months to date. And we'll have a really, really good picture and finger on the pulse of how they're tracking this year, and make some educated decisions about what they can do for tax planning.
Yeah, and again, you can't comment on this, but I guess I can, is that obviously the government's given away a lot of tax credit this year to keep the economy stimulated, but you could suggest that from the 1st of July, a lot of that's going to get tightened up fairly quickly.
Look, I don't think there's any doubt about that. It is in the government's interest to keep people employed, and that keeps the wheel turning for consumption in the country. However, there's not an ever-ending river of money and debt that they can rack up. So they'll definitely be I suppose, tightening the screws a little bit in the near term. But who knows? We'll probably find out in 6 weeks of the next budget if they do anything. Which every now and then they do throw a something in there from left field, but I don't think it will be as much as what it was last year.
Too much of a surprise. Dan, look, that's been really good to chat with you today. I've made a note of all of the technology platforms that we've discussed as we've been talking. In the notes attached to this podcast, I'll include a link to as many of those that I can find. If someone was looking to get in contact with you, I'll also include your link to your LinkedIn page, business page. I think that's a primary one, and also a link to Suntax. Is there that would be the main ones if someone was looking to get in contact?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm happy for everyone to get in contact via email or give the office a call and ask me. Always happy to chat with anyone really about their business needs. And we've got a very experienced team of accountants and gun bookkeepers in here. So we're sort of very, very happy to chat with anyone. And like we said at the beginning, you don't need to be sitting in the next suburb. With the technology as it is these days, you could be anywhere in the world, in fact. And as long as we can converse over in a time zone that suits, we're happy to do it.
Yeah, that's great. Daniel, thanks for your time today. It's been great to chat, and I look forward to staying in touch.
Great. Thanks, Scott.
Thank you for listening today. Pharmacy View is a technology-focused podcast provided by Melbourne-based business Arian Technologies and Shopfront Solutions. Over the podcast series, our guests include pharmacists, retail managers, wholesalers, suppliers, and industry technology partners. If you would like further information on our podcast series or to participate in one of our episodes, feel free to send me a message or touch base through the Pharmacy View website, pharmacyview.com.au.